Charles IV, King of Bohemia and Holy Roman Emperor, had a long and successful reign. The empire he ruled from Prague expanded, and his subjects lived in peace and prosperity. When the emperor died, the whole empire mourned. More than 7,000 people accompanied him on his last procession. The heir to the throne of the flourishing empire was Charles's son, Wenceslas IV, whose father had prepared him for this moment all his life. But Wenceslas did not take after his father. He neglected affairs of state for more frivolous pursuits. He even failed to turn up for his own coronation as emperor, which did little to endear him to the Pope. Wenceslas the Idle did not impress the imperial nobility either. His difficulties mounted until the nobles, exasperated by the inaction of their ruler, turned for help to his half-brother, King Sigismund of Hungary. Sigismund decided on a radical solution. He kidnapped the king to force him to abdicate, then took advantage of the ensuing disorder to gain greater power for himself. He invaded Bohemia with a massive army and began pillaging the territories of the king's allies. It is here that my story begins.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Good. I've only got 2 hands.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh. I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovno. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Noyo? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Ujitz isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church, the lamentable wealth in which the Church is drowning, has turned to poison, and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesnej smutek, grudnielo i rano utek, niech ich małżeński majsat, do wczera żylne staje prach. Už sejmoj svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jich kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední jen. Buďme se bávit a do nás sudy a posaď se mi sem, tak posaď se dál je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zejdu nalej mi hned a točí se svět.
Enough of this!
Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh. Oh. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up. Take that!
So, my dear, wouldn't you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're...
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath.
And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast! Get up! Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell.
Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh, shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
Well, all right. But I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then.
Good day to you.
on then. What's the holdup? We've no time to waste. All right, then. Suit yourself. Don't...
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem.
I thought he'd never show up. The swimp.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God. Any minute now he'll throw up.
I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, enemies, injustice, hunger and chaos, failed harvests, fires, floods and other catastrophes. And it is all due to the corrupt servants of God who do not practice what they preach. They think sins can be washed away by money, and they sell indulgences, and that's bad. Because sins cannot be redeemed with silver.
Prague didn't do much for his confidence.
And such sins, those who should lead with reason, who should shun debauchery and show the path of righteousness, which is the duty of all priests, instead they indulge in drunkenness and intoxication. Therefore the apostle says that a bishop may not be a drinker of wine, and parish priests must be sober. And it is written that when a bishop is a drinker of wine, he must be deposed, and a priest who drinks must be punished or deprived of his priesthood.
He's talking about Godwin. For sure he's talking about him, the drunkard.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. Look at them. They booze like hypocrites and buy expensive jewels. They servants of God. And that is not right, because Christ preached poverty, and only poverty and temperance are true virtues.
And it was almost getting interesting.
I say to you, in the words of Jan Hus, he who knows much, let him speak much. He who knows little, let him speak little. Let each speak as much as he knows, and he who knows nothing, let him at least teach his neighbour one virtuous deed by setting him good example and refraining from playing dice and from fornication. And that applies both to priests and to you, brothers and sisters.
That's his conclusion.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
Have you no shame, you pair of buffoons? I'll be writing to the bishop of this. For shame.
Utterly blasphemous.
Can you believe such behaviour? For men of the cloth to get drunk at pigs' church.
So, is our deal still on?
Are you pulling my fucking pizzle? I couldn't have done worse myself if I'd puked on the altar.
Well, I'm no preacher.
Yeah, I noticed. And I wasn't the only one.
You can't be serious. After all that?
All what? All you making a complete hash of my sermon? You were supposed to help, not get me into even more trouble. Now I'll have the bishop on my back and all the villagers. Just leave. I need to pull myself together.
And what am I supposed to do?
Find someone else to help you. Come on then, what's the holdup?
I thought he'd never show up. The swill pup.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.